Hi everyone, welcome to the 2023 summer live stream in which I show off my studio a little bit and have a moment of breathing. Just waiting for people to show up. Gotta make sure I announce in my Discord that I'm live. Oh, partner's here. Hi, babe. I hope you're having a lovely dinner. South Oz. Oh, fantastic. Hi, Christine. I'm so glad that you were able to make it. It's always a struggle to try and figure out when to do things because I have so many different followers in so many different countries all around the world. And I always feel like I'm leaving somebody out if I, cater to America. Sushi goodness. Do they have sushi there? I don't know. I hope it's good. It's tasty. I had a BLT tonight. Welcome to our relationship, everybody. Sushi actually sounds really good to me now, though. Thanks for that. But anyway, yes. So I always feel like by like doing things in a time that's convenient for me, that is like weird for people in other places. So I'm happy. I'm always happy when like other people can manage to come in. Hello from Western New York. Where in Western New York? I used to live in Western New York. I grew up. I spent some of my very formative years there, so I'm always like really intrigued when somebody tells me, "Have we had this conversation before?" I feel like it comes up anytime anybody. Rochester. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. I know exactly where that is. I have an aunt who lives in Casadega. Fun fact. I really miss being up there sometimes. It's such a lovely, it's such a beautiful place to be. If you can imagine like what the Shire might look like if it was in America, that's kind of what it looks like to me. I used to go up there and visit my grandma, and I would just take my watercolors and paint. I don't know if I have any of those paintings still. I should see. Let's see. Sauteed crimini and oyster mushrooms and roast. Oh my God, that sounds so good. I'm going to need you to have a bite for me because that sounds delicious. And it's kind of a good thing that Tornado isn't here because my little hobbit child loves mushrooms more than almost anything in the entire world. So they would be also very jealous. Heading home on BART through the city. I am very jealous of the BART system and your public transportation in general in the city because there's basically none here. Austin does not believe in infrastructure at all. So, oh no, speaking of Tornado, let me make sure they don't try and call me. Yay. There we go. Okay. They are actually traveling on a trip with their dad, huge road trip this whole week. And so they're just letting me know that they're in Kansas. So, yes, 9:30 a.m. Saturday. Oh, well, happy Saturday morning. It feels like Saturday to me today because I had today off and I spent most of it actually over at the old apartment cleaning. Austin is California light. Yeah, extremely light, especially on the public transportation infrastructure. We have one metro rail that goes from north to south and not both ends of north, only one end of north to downtown, so not even fully south. And some bus schedules that are very like they just don't go everywhere and they don't run often. So like if I was going to try to get from my old place to where I work downtown, it would take me 3 buses, the train, 2 buses, the train, another bus, and about 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's ridiculous. So yes. Oh, hello, croissants. Yes, I love you, everything. Oh, hi, Alex. What do I say at the beginning of my videos? I say croeso, which means welcome in Welsh. And I kind of started doing that because I do the SCA, which is the Society for Creative Anachronism, which I always end up talking about way more than I mean to on my lives. But basically what it is it's a historical society that it's a bunch of nerds that we all get together and geek out about pre-1600s world history. And you're encouraged to develop a persona, to pick somebody that you want to, portray-ish. It's not, there's this whole thing about, is the SCA a LARP? Is it not a LARP? It has some elements of LARPing, but it's a LARP that we all do really badly because nobody stays in character at all ever. So basically you just pick a name and kind of a time period that you might be like interested in or that you might want to dress like. And so my persona is from 1380s and she is Welsh and her name is Ellen, which is where Opus Elenae comes from. It means Ellen's work. And when I say croeso, it just means welcome. So I'm just welcoming you to my channel. Let's see. What else? I used to live next. Oh, Lake Ontario is so pretty, though. Oh, my goodness. Oh, happy time zone. I'm so happy you made it. Keeping me company while I do my nails. I am always so jealous of people who can paint their nails and have them stay painted. Mine flake off within like 2 days. It looks a mess. And at this point, I just don't even bother to do it anymore because it's not worth it. Hi, Marilyn. Oh, talk about the SCA as much as you want. I have a lot to say about the SCA, so probably there will be more. But now that we have kind of been hanging out for 10 minutes, let me go ahead and say croeso. Welcome to Opus Elenae. Where we have moved. This is my new studio. It is a big change. Oh, sorry. It keeps like being weird auto-focusing. I'm using my webcam and not my actual camera that I usually use as a webcam. So it's having issues like auto-focusing. So I'll try hard not to move around too much. So this is the studio. I don't know that I can do a whole bunch of like moving everything around, but I can do this a little bit. Oh yes, big mirrors. Yes, I'm so happy about them. So in the mirrors, you can see, I'm not going to turn my computer all the way around or anything, but in the closet here is I'm going to have on this side, there's going to be all of my fabric. And on that side, I have more supplies and like I put shelves in there and there's all supplies in there. And so along this wall here, which is reflected in the mirror, you can see I have my cutting table and I have a bookcase here in the corner that has like my other serger and my modern machine, which I never use anymore because I have my featherweight and I love it so much. Obviously on my thread, my little IKEA spice rack that I use to hold everything that I need to. And then this, which is my newest fun thing ever. Thank you very much to Partner. This is a sewing table that used to be his mom's, and it fits my featherweight in it. So right now it's underneath. It's actually housed in this cabinet here. And on the other side of it, nearest to the wall, it has a little cabinet that opens and you can take the featherweight out and the tabletop actually comes off and it has this well built into it that I can put my sewing machine into and everything is flat. So I have like the whole table as a sewing surface and it's really lovely and really gorgeous. And I am so excited about using it. I told myself that this week, I'm not actually going to sew anything because everything's been really hectic and I have been really busy and trying to get the old place clean and ready to go, turn my keys back in over there and everything. And I've said I'm just not going to do anything. I didn't do anything, obviously, the last 2 weeks because I was really concentrating on making sure that I was prepared for this move. And the move went great, like so fast. It was awesome. I have discovered that the way to not hate moving is to outsource the actual moving to other people and pay them money to do that. So best decision ever. But even still now, like I said, I've been kind of going over a whole bunch this week and making sure that everything is brought over, all the little things that you miss, and making sure that everything gets cleaned. And I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my gosh. See, this is what happens. I spent almost 6 hours over there today and I don't have two brain cells to rub together. But so I said, I'm not going to sew. I'm not going to sew this week because I didn't want to add anything onto my plate or anything like that. My next project for the video 2 weeks from now is actually going to be an embroidery heavy project, sewing light project. And that is going to be a goldwork embroidery kit, which I am then going to make up into a bag, which I will then possibly give away as a 10,000 subscribers giveaway, because we're closing in on that very quickly. We are actually over 9,200 subscribers as of today. I haven't checked anything today. So I have a couple of ideas. I may actually do 2 giveaways, and the other one might still be a surprise. But so that's going to be, it should be a relatively labor light thing. Just because the pattern is relatively simple and making up a bag goes very quickly for me. It's not terribly worried about that, but I'm just not doing anything about that this weekend. So much space for being a floor goblin. Yeah, it's pretty big. This is actually the smallest bedroom. We got a 3-bedroom apartment. So Tornado has their own room, partner and I have a room. And then this is the studio. So we can have a living room, which I'm very much looking forward to, having a couch again. Cause I didn't realize how much, having the studio in the main living area was going to affect how we socialized. And it didn't matter so much over the pandemic, but now that we are able to be a little bit more open with people coming to our house, I would really like to have a place where, like, when my brother comes over, when my cousins come over, that we can have a place to sit that isn't at the dining room table, only at the dining room table. Yes. Loving the Welsh representation. I feel pretty strongly about British being colonizers, English specifically being colonizers, and definitely feeling like the very first people that they colonized were the people who are on their own island. And Jimmy is a friend of mine, and he and I have talked a little bit about Welsh independence, and my sib Jen is actually over in England now, and so they tell me a lot about what's happening with like Scottish Parliament and all of that stuff. So while this is partially because this is my persona, it is also in my heritage. I am of Welsh extraction, and so I feel very strongly about like the push for independence for Wales and also Scotland. So yes, always Welsh representation here. Yeah, Eastern European country, not so. Be safe, friend. I know Eastern Europe can be kind of a shit show when it comes to queer rights. So first obligation is always to stay safe and stay alive. Featherweight. Oh, 3rd generation featherweight user. That's awesome. I don't have my mom's sewing machine, but I do have her serger. It was a serger that she got when I was a kid. And you could kill somebody with it. The thing is a brick. It's like fully metal. And it was made by Toyota. And so when I got it back from my aunt who had it and stored it for me, I took it in to get it tuned up. And I was like, here, local sewing machine store, can you please take a look at this? And they were like, what? They're like, yeah, we'll take a look at it and we'll clean it, but no guarantees that we can find parts for this thing. So it was pretty funny. Everything was fine. It had been sitting for like 25 years and not used, not anything. I think most of it was inside, but I know part of it was like in a garage space, whatever. The only thing it needed was a light bulb replaced, and everything else was just like cleaned up, oiled, went fine. So I'm hoping that that continues because I don't think I can get parts for it. Source parts online. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. And honestly, that's probably what they would do too. It's a really good sewing machine store, our local one. And they're always really fair and very upfront about like, this is the thing that we haven't seen before, and we will do our best to like source whatever we need to do, but it may take longer and it may be more expensive because this isn't just something that we can call up our manufacturer or our distributor and be like, hey, we need parts for a 1970s Toyota serger. I don't know if you'd call I'd probably be like, maybe check AutoZone. Notice the water. So this is a little bit later than I normally like film or, do anything. And I made some delicious sun tea over the solstice, and I had some last night with dinner, and I was like, yes, awesome, cool. And then I slept horribly. So I am not drinking tea tonight because I didn't have a chance to make up any of my Altair tea, which is a tea from Tabletop. And it's a hibiscus tea. So it's actually my favorite non-caffeinated tea to make into iced tea. But I didn't have enough time to make any up today. So I'm just drinking sparkling water, and it has a little bit of orange bitters and a little bit of lavender bitters. So if you are a person who can have those things, highly recommend. It's very delicious. ERCOT is not behaving. ERCOT tried to get me to turn off everything in my house 2 days ago because we had a ridiculous heat advisory index. Was it last night? No, not last night. The night before, we had a huge thunderstorm. And it kind of brought a nice cooler front in. So it's only 90 degrees right now, as opposed to like 106, which it was 2 days ago. And ERCOT was like, hey, can you maybe put your thermostat up to like 80 for us? Because we are really bad at managing everything. And we're really afraid that like everything's going to be blacked out if you don't. And I was kind of like, I can do 75. And that's about it. Especially because the medicines that I'm on right now make me a lot more susceptible to heat, sun especially, but also heat. So I have to be careful to balance, like, what can I do to make sure my estate doesn't blow its fuse? But also, like, what do I do to make sure I don't blow my fuse? So I turned it up a little bit, but not a lot. Let's see. Goldwork embroidery. Goldwork embroidery is so cool. I love it so much. I have so many goldwork supplies, like literally right to hand right here, within arm's reach. I have gold and silver thread. But this kit is one that I got from a lady named Anne Juliet, and she does the Shining Threadworks historical embroidery. I think on Facebook, she runs the group. She's really great, and she has some of the most beautiful goldwork stuff that I've ever seen. And so when she put together some beginner's kits, I thought it would be really fun to get one and try stitching it. And I thought it would be something that wouldn't be too complicated embroidery projects take a lot longer than just sewing projects. So I have to really space them out over the year and make sure that I don't do too many of them, because if I do, then I tend to get behind and backlogged, which is why Partner's shirt took so much longer to finish than it was supposed to. Oops. It got done. It got done. Does Austin have great sewing and knitting stores? We have Hill Country Weavers, which is pretty good. And we, which is a yarn store. And they have a lot of stuff, but I generally just I don't go places a lot. So I haven't been there in ages, since before the pandemic. So I don't know what their stuff is like right now. And there were a couple more downtown. There were a couple more downtown, but I think at least one of them has closed. I don't know. It's been so long since I've done any knitting. I kind of burnt myself out on it one year when I made 19 pairs of socks in a year because I'm ridiculous. And I haven't really knit a whole bunch of anything since, just little things here and there. So I don't usually go to like yarn stores. And as far as sewing stores, no, we don't have, no. If you are a quilter, we have a couple of like quilting stores. Like the place where I go to get my machine serviced is also a quilting, has a bunch of like quilting things. So if you're into quilting, yeah, but like if you're into apparel making, it's Joann's or online. So I get a lot of my stuff from either fabricstore.com for my linen, Gray Line linen, Burnley and Trowbridge, or if I'm looking for some other stuff and I feel like I can kind of wait for it to show up, I'll go to Fabric Mart Fabrics, which is a store that supplies, that takes dead stock and makes sales from it. So like sometimes they have good linen, but I buy a lot of my wools there and some silks too. So mostly it's just online stuff. When am I doing more about Viking baggy pants? I don't know. I want to make myself some. I think I want to make myself at least one pair to wear with the L'Oreal outfit. And so I think probably I might make a pair in like either a dark blue or a charcoal color. And if I do that, because this last one was mostly about construction, I think what I'll do is I'll do a deeper dive into how those measurements work, and I'll do more in depth on how I take the measurements and how I translate those measurements into that wonky geometry. But probably not this year. I have a lot planned out. And so I try not to do too many of the same thing too close together, because I don't want people to get bored, and I don't want, I like to keep it variety, spice of life, that kind of thing. Let's see, salty Irish descendant here. Fun fact, I just put in a registration request for a badge in the SCA, which is basically a piece of your heraldry. I actually have a piece of my heraldry tattooed on me. This is one of my badges. It's my red crow. That is kind of the emblem of everything that I do. And I put in a new badge request. It's a salt cellar. Because I am a salty bitch. So let's see. Sewing studio also in the living room. It is frustrating. So frustrating. I mean, we made it work, and I'm very lucky that I have a kid and a partner who are both very supportive, very active in sometimes behind the scenes, like Tornado took all of those pictures of me in the Curdle. They took better pictures of me than I did. So good job them. And partner's always like, I mean, I'm not going to like produce a video for you, but like anytime you want me to be in one, I'm still trying to get him to agree to frolic, but that's a work in progress. That may not happen this year either. It's a goal though. So everybody kind of put up with having everything out in the living room because they saw how important it was to me and how valuable it was to be able to be creative and everything there. But not gonna lie, everybody's real excited about having a couch again. So let's see. That shirt was totally worth waiting for. I love that shirt so much. It came out exactly how I wanted it to. And, so, as I'm sure everybody who does any kind of creative endeavor who is watching right now knows that sometimes you get exactly what you were hoping for. And sometimes, most times, you get a creative interpretation of what you were hoping for because something doesn't work, or you ran out of time, or you couldn't get exactly the fabric that you wanted. There's always corners to be cut, or things that just didn't work out the way that you wanted them to. But that shirt came out exactly as I had envisioned in my head, and I am very proud of it and very happy with it. And the number of people who have threatened to roll partner in a back alley to take that shirt makes me feel like I did a good job. Lot cooler at 74, though humid. Yeah, it's not as humid here. When I go visit partner at his house in Houston, it's like walking into a fishbowl. Because of how Houston is located, one, more towards the coast, and two, in a depression, the humidity just sinks there, and you get really weird inversion layers where you can have like over 100% humidity sometimes. It's awful. Do not recommend. 0 out of 10. So I can always, I go there and I can always tell exactly when I start to get into the humidity of Houston, because all of these little bits of my hair just like frizz up and I'm like, oh, it's humid. I hate it. Austin tends to be a little bit less humid because we're further inland and right by hill country. So it's a little drier here, which is blessing and curse. Because, sometimes in the summer it gets so hot and dry that we get nosebleeds, but it's always something, right? Floor fan. Yes. So swamp coolers, awesome. CJ says you have to turn your AC up. Take a floor fan, fill a bowl of ice in a big pan, put it in front of the fan, instant cool air. Oh, I'm definitely, we used to do that a lot in California when I lived there, and it got real hot because not everywhere we lived had AC. And so we would do swamp coolers there, and it worked really well because California is the desert. And sometimes it works really well here if the humidity is low, but if the air is saturated, it doesn't work quite as well. I don't know why. It's just something about having too much humidity in the air and evaporation, and I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, I have absolutely done that. And my family who lives in New Jersey right now, they do that too sometimes. More Lyrial. Oh, I have so many plans. So many plans. I can't even tell you. It is on my costuming bucket list is to make every single outfit that Lyriel and Sabriel wear in those books. Because I'm ridiculous. And I have a whole plan about making different ways to make marks on fabric and have decorated fabric happen. And for each outfit, I will use a different kind of fabric marking. I just have to plan out one that's going to happen. Maybe next year will be the year of Sabriel projects. I haven't decided. Oh, currently in the midst of Pennsic prep. Oh my gosh. Fun fact, Pennsic was my first event. My first SCA event ever was Pennsic 30 when I was very young, very impressionable. And I didn't do an SCA event again for, I think, another 10 or 11 years, because there wasn't a big presence where I was in California. And it wasn't until I moved to Indiana to go to college that there was a presence on campus. And so I got involved there. So yes, I definitely remember Pensick Prep, and we do Gulf War Prep every year too. So that's loved Partners Mead video. He was great, right? I can't tell you how much I cut out of there. I think I ended up with about 6 hours worth of video of us just talking to each other. And it's not even worth doing a super cut of, because it's literally just us talking at each other and annoying couple in jokes and, references to our friends and stuff. So I didn't even I couldn't even make it that. But it was fun. I had a lot of fun doing that. We're planning on doing another follow-up video. It will probably be, I don't know if it will be like an entire video on schedule, or if it will be like an extra video maybe on the off Friday or something, where I make another batch and we compare the new mead to the aged mead. And I think that'll be pretty fun. I still have 5 bottles of it. I think 5, 6. I think I have 6 bottles of it. So I'm hoarding it like a little mead dragon. Because I'm like, no, I want to make sure that at least one bottle makes it to a year aged. And I might make a bigger batch this time because it's so good. My apartment is 600 square feet. I've definitely lived in one of those. Mm-hmm. And honestly, our 2-bedroom apartment was not that much bigger. This place is bigger, but that one, not so much. Glad to see you on tonight. Hi, I'm so glad to be here. How we're all doing? We're okay. Electricity is going to be a little expensive this month, because not only do I have still both apartments going until we done with that other one at the end of this month, but also it's hot. So, but yes, it has been awful moving, doing all of the, see, my brain is so done tonight. I'm so sorry. Doing peripheral is the word I was looking for. Doing all of the peripheral things around the move, where, you have to take over the things that are delicate, like spinning wheels and looms and electronics, because I'm sorry, I'm not trusting movers with my computer. That came over with us, but it meant that we did a lot ourselves as well. And just going down a flight of steps 20 times, up a flight of steps 20 times, and then bringing it over here and going up and down the steps 20 times too, because both apartments are second floor. So doing that in the heat, I was like, I don't know who came up with the idea of summer, but they should get fired, because I hate it. Where in New Jersey? Central Jersey. I grew up in Somerset. So if you're familiar at all with New Jersey, the New Jersey medieval scene in the late 90s, the New Jersey Renaissance Kingdom was where I got my start. I went to that when I was very young and at a formative age. And I started working there as soon as I could. And it was not a Renaissance festival, even though it was Renaissance Kingdom. It should have been Medieval Kingdom, because it was medieval themed, and it was King Arthur instead of like Queen Elizabeth kind of thing. So that's kind of where my love of medieval history and clothing and just general aesthetic, and also Arthurian legend, all started there. So that's that's where I started. Unfortunately, that festival is no longer in existence. There is another New Jersey Renaissance Festival out there now. And I think my friend Vince Conaway, the one who plays the hammer dulcimer that I feature sometimes, he was in my Gulf War vlog video from last year. I think he was at it this year, but I haven't been to the new one, so I don't have I can't like pass judgment on it because I haven't been back there. That's a heck of a first event. Yes, Penzic was a heck of a first event. I think Penzic 30 was the first year that they had over 10,000 people there, which was a little shock to my poor brain because I had no idea that there were so many people out there who loved doing the things that I loved. I knew that there was, my little Renaissance Festival people, and that there were other Renaissance Festival people, because where I lived, we were within a day trip of like between 4, 5, 6 Renaissance festivals. There were a couple in New York, and there was one in Pennsylvania, and one in Maryland, one in Connecticut. So, like a weekend maybe for all of those things. But it never occurred to me that there would be so many people in the world that felt so strongly about it that they do it. And I remember coming down the highway, and there's like trees and stuff, or there were then, there probably is still. You come down the road and like the trees would break, and you'd look over, and it was just like that scene from Gladiator where it was tense to the horizon. And I was just like, oh shit, what have I gotten myself into? It was great. I had a great time. I was 18. It was probably like my first big thing that I ever went to by myself. I mean, with friends and stuff, but like by myself. And I had a great time. I went back the next year, but I haven't been back since. So we can do a 3-gallon batch next time. Yes, thanks, babe. I would like that. And then I don't have to like be scared of drinking my mead because it'll go away. Yes. So I tried to leave some of those in jokes there, and enough of our like conversation back and forth so that we didn't come across as, wooden or weird or anything like that. But there was like 6 hours of that, and I didn't want to watch it, and I was in it. So I was like, nobody wants to see that. So I did try to leave some things in there. But he's great. I like him a lot. Let's see. And Baron was a bit of a cliquish snob. Oh, yeah, I don't like those. I don't like cliquish snobs. As I'm sure everybody who watches this channel probably already knows, I feel strongly about gates and the keeping of them, and how we should not be doing that. And I don't love it when people leverage institutional knowledge to make other people feel small. So screw that guy. And I'm glad you had fun. Hi from Tennessee. Hi. I have other friends who live in Tennessee. So I hope that everybody over there is doing well in the heat as well. House hunting. Oh, piano. Yeah. So when I was talking with the movers, they're like, okay, do you have anything weird? And I was like, well, like define weird. And they were like, do you have a baby grand piano? And I was like, no. And they're like, good, because we can't move that. And if you have an upright piano, then like, we're going to have some words. So apparently movers hate moving pianos because they're both heavy and delicate. Yeah, and I took pictures of everything before the movers came, so I knew what I had and what I didn't have. So I wasn't super duper worried about them like taking anything of mine. It's people are always more cavalier with other people's things than they are with their own things. And for me, it's just a matter of making sure that the equipment that I use, both for work and for semi-work, hobby work, is in good working order. So energy to feel. Oh, Perfect. Thank you for that explanation as to why swamp coolers actually are less effective in humidity than in dryness. So I appreciate that. Today I learned. Hello from Tempe, Arizona. Hi. I'm so glad you were able to be here. Coastal Virginia. Oh, but it's so beautiful there. Oh my gosh, Virginia is a gorgeous state. Hello from Boston. Nice to see y'all here. Vince is a great guy. I know. He's wonderful. We talk all the time, and I see him like once a year, and it's always around Gulf War because the Sherwood Renaissance Festival, which is like near Austin, it's about an hour outside of Austin. He usually works that. And then Gulf Wars happens during the week between like two of those fair weekends. So he's out there for the whole run. And then like he goes to Gulf War during the week between his fair gigs. And so like I don't see him at all. And then like for 2 months, we're in each other's back pockets because it's like the only time of the year that we get to see each other. And we talk on, we chat on Messenger and stuff all the time. So it's not like I am not friends with him during that time, but I'm always like, yay, it's Vince season. It's just a really weird way to mark time, but I guess whatever works. Not familiar with the SCA. It's a fun thing. Like any large organization, it can be really great, or it can be like really awful, depending on who is in charge and who is participating in it and what their priorities are. I try really hard to make sure that the space around me is welcoming, and I'm very lucky in that the people that I surround myself with also feel the same. So we can, create this like shared space of fun to be around, and inviting for newcomers, because the last thing that I ever want is somebody to like come up to me and walk away feeling like I don't value them and I don't want them to be here. Because as a newcomer, there's nothing more daunting than feeling like the people who have been around for a long time don't care about you. So feel very strongly about that. When I lived, Miss Hart says that I wish we had more than one Ren Fair, medieval fair here in Middle Tennessee. When I lived in Indiana, there wasn't one at all. There wasn't one at all anywhere in Indiana. And I think not even in the surrounding states. They started one like a year and a half before I graduated and we left, but it was still very small. And I think it's still going, the Fisher's Renaissance Festival out of Indianapolis. But I don't know, like I didn't even go because I was already getting my medieval fix through the SCA at that point. So I wasn't invested in going to see that fair. Hi, Gwenifar. That's awesome. Thank you for coming. I think you did a great job capturing your dynamic as a couple. Thank you. I'm trying my best. Pianos are free if you can move them. Oh my gosh. So part of moving this time, because I used to move just about every year for a long time. We moved every single year. But this last place that I was in, due to being a newly divorced single parent, and then the pandemic, and then the housing weirdness, I stayed there for 6 years. I was there for 6 years. And even though it was a very small place, we ended up having so much stuff tucked into corners and like just puzzled into places, that one of the things that I did was I joined a whole bunch of those like buy and sell groups, or like the free cycle groups kind of things. There are so many pianos that people are like, I'm moving, I can't take this piano, somebody please come take it. Like there's probably a post a day, almost maybe a post every other day, on somebody who's just like, free piano, come move it yourself. And I don't need a piano. We have a keyboard, an electronic keyboard, and for how much, we use it, like that's fine. Our musicality tends to run more towards vocalization than anything else in our family. So let's see. Hi, hello. You're in New Hampshire. Oh my gosh. What the first time that I ever flew by myself, I flew to New Hampshire to visit my best friend and her grandparents in their ridiculous mansion in New Hampshire. So that was really fun. I was in sixth grade. I was an unaccompanied minor, and it was a very short flight. It was just from New Jersey to New Hampshire, but it was the easiest way to like get me up there to go visit my friend for a month in the summer. Great time. Highly recommend flying by yourself if you get a chance. Usually in Maryland, currently in Georgia. That's cool. I have never been to Georgia. I hear it's lovely, but I have never managed to go. Free, but you move it. Yeah, see, piano's free, but you move it. Had a bad first interaction with SCA 20 years ago. It's changed a lot since then. It has. I mean, everything's changed in 20 years. But there are a lot of people who had their glory days 20 years ago and don't want to see those days pass. So there's still going to be holdouts of and pockets of people who don't want things to change. But I think with the advent of social media and with a new generation kind of coming into the SCA and being willing to stand up to people who perceive themselves as authority figures, things have been changing in a good way. And far be it from me to be like, no, you should go back. Everybody knows what they want to do, what they're capable of, and their own situation. But if it's a thing that you're interested in, I would encourage you to try it again. And if I don't know if you're on the Discord or not, but if you are, there are a lot of us, and usually somebody knows somebody in an area. And so like if you want an invitation or if you want, like a buddy system kind of thing, usually we can hook you up with that. So again, I say that mostly to people who are not people of color. Black people, brown people, Asian people. I have more words of caution for them because as an organization, the SCA is incredibly white, and even people who are well-meaning but not very far along in their path towards anti-racism, it can be difficult. There can be those kinds of microaggressions that happen in well-meaning liberal spaces. So I have a lot more caveats for people and precautions for people who are not white. But like even then, it can be really great. But I don't want to sugarcoat anything ever. And I don't want to be like, no, it's fun. We're all leftists. That's a progressive space. Because that's not always true. And even the people who are well-meaning sometimes mess up in ways that damage people, and that's not okay. And so I try to be really careful with my suggestions to people who aren't white. Those of us in the SCA to remember how difficult it is to attend an event with so much to learn. Yeah. One of the things that I often tell people who are on vigil to become peers, knights or laurels, pelicans, MODs, whatever, is to remember where you are now, to remember this moment as your elevation and hold that as your standard for judging other people as to whether they're ready for elevation. Because as we continue to grow and move past where we are, we can't hold people to an ever moving target of prowess and mastery. And I think it's the same for newcomers. Like, hold your newcomer self in your mind when you are interacting with newcomers, because if you throw around a whole bunch of jargon and you overwhelm people, and, it's just a lot. It's all a lot. So I try really hard to like meet people where they are. And I think it's important for everybody. Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm gonna kidnap you to come to one of our events, Oz. It's gonna be super fun. And you're just gonna wake up one day, like at an SCA event, and be like, how did I get here? And I'll just jump out of a box and be like, surprise, SCA event. Have some food. Because that's usually how I roll. There are way more people in Tennessee. There are way more people everywhere than I had expected. But yeah, like I said, if you want to jump on the Discord, if you're not there already, we have an incredible network of people who know people who know people who know people. And I don't care. I'll hop into like somebody's Facebook group and be like, hey, I have a newcomer who's interested in attending. I'm a Laurel down in Austin. I don't know this person at all, but they're going to show up and y'all are going to be nice to them. And that usually works out way better than you'd expect it to. Yeah. The Discord heralds are mildly terrifying with their connections. That's true. Those were the people I was thinking of. But even then, like, I know people in several different kingdoms, and Alden knows people in several different kingdoms too. Although he's a herald too, so I guess he counts like in that thing. Well-meaning but not very far along is a good way to put it. Again, with the remembering where you started and how it was where you were, like where you are versus where you were in any progression is really important. And as a person who is white and is a white woman, which is a demographic of people who are both wildly racist and completely unable to hear that, I feel like it's incredibly incumbent on me to be the anti-racist white woman doula for the people who are farther, maybe not as far along as I am in the path toward anti-racism. Just like there are people who are farther along than me who help me. I'm not perfect, absolutely, at all. I try my best. But again, well-meaning doesn't mean that you don't damage people. So I try hard to be gracious with people who are making a good faith effort. If they're not making a good faith effort, you don't get a lot of sympathy or patience from me at all. So disappointed to see racism interfere with otherwise wonderful activities. I agree. And I think it's worth sitting down and examining how those wonderful activities are sometimes also rooted in racism. The kinds of things that we decide to revere can sometimes be problematic. And it's not only worth it to keep racism from entering things that have already been created, but also to take a look at how those things were created and can we do better? Can we make that stuff better as well? Because that's like the whole point of systemic racism, is that it's baked into the system. And so I think it's really important to examine the system that those activities are happening in and make sure that if necessary, that's restructured as well. Mom. Yeah. Yeah, the SC is a lot when you're pregnant and a new mom. Ask me how I know. We moved down here to Austin from a shire that was very small. The first time that I came out to fighter practice here, there were more knights on the field than we had people in our shire. So that was pretty crazy. And that was a bit of a culture shock. And I got pregnant with Tornado almost right away. And so, like, I had just met everybody, and then I dropped off the face of the planet because I was so sick the entire time. And then trying to navigate being a new parent in a new place, uh, and do the SCA at the same time. That was hard. And I decided to do it on even harder mode because I think Tornado was about 18 months when I decided that I was going to go for the Laurel path. And I worked real hard, probably harder than I should have to get that done. So don't do that. Don't do that. Like, take it at your own pace. But yeah, I mean, the ICA can be a really great place to be a parent too. It is. I have, if you say it takes a village to raise a child, I have a wonderful village, and I have met the majority of that village through the SCA, and so I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. Out of opera for wow. Time for dinner. Have a lovely dinner. That sounds amazing. Is there an option to teleport to us? I would love that. I would make everything a lot easier because then I can just live with partner in Houston and teleport here for school and job. Joining the Discord server now. Yay, welcome. I will say something to you when this is over and I can get there. Business trip to Atlanta, and a local fencer got me in touch with fencers down there so you could practice. This happens so much. We often have people from out of kingdom who are here on business trips. Austin is a pretty big like software city or whatever. And we have a lot of people who are like, hey, we heard your practice is Tuesday. Where is it? The TSA let me bring swords on the plane. So I'm here. So you can be well-meaning, but you have to do the work. Yeah, that's the thing. The road to hell is paved with good intentions without action. That's the thing. Let's see. I mean, if you move to your neck of the woods, if you want to keep doing SCA stuff, I know people. Oh yeah, absolutely. So many people everywhere. In February, we are hosting an online DEI symposium for the SCA. I am really excited for that. I can't wait to go. I love that. Kingdom has a Playdate Facebook group. Oh, that's so nice. Tornado is often overwhelmed at events, and it is sometimes hard for them to make friends. So they sometimes struggle at SCA events, but as they're getting a little bit older, a little bit more confident, I think it's going to be okay. I think they're going to be like that. It takes a village. I prefer my village armed and armored too. Yes, same. It is not every house that has rules about when it is okay to hit friends with sticks. Our house was that house, and the rule was you can only hit friends if they're armored. That was our rule. So that and hold if you yell hold, everything stops. Those were big when Tornado was little. I need a village. I've got 3 boys who love everything medieval and fantasy related, especially archery and sword fighting. Yep, this is the place for them. Youth archery is a thing. Youth fighting is a thing, both on the rapier side and the rattan chivalric side. I don't remember what ages they have to be, but I think it's like 6 or 7, maybe 7, or I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but your marshals will be able to tell you. That's awesome. I'm not social enough for the SCA. I totally understand that too. One of the things that I really loved about, not loved, it's a silver lining thing. One of the things that I have been grateful for over the course of the pandemic is the added emphasis on either virtual events or like virtual networking. And that has made it a lot easier for me to interact with people. Our fighter practice is on Tuesday. I have a kid. We can't do Tuesdays. That's a school night. And not only that, I can't drive like 40 minutes south to get there. That just doesn't happen. So I miss out on being social, but with the advent of a bigger social media presence, thanks to the pandemic, it is a lot easier for me to stay connected with people and interact with people without feeling like I have to be physically present and socially like at capacity at all times to be involved. So and as I have found my village, I have surrounded myself with people who don't drain me the way that a lot of other people do. So in finding my village, I have enabled myself to be able to play in the SCA at a capacity that is not so draining for me. So I understand that. Only armored people can be hit. Yeah, I feel like it was a good. It seemed like a good rule. My 5-year-old got to do some archery at his first event. Oh, that's awesome. So Sherwood Renaissance Festival also does a summer camp for kids, and Tornado went one year and they really enjoyed the archery and the blacksmithing. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to build a forge. But that's the thing. I was like, you're gonna have to work that out with partner, because he has a house and we have an apartment, and I can't have a forge on my balcony. I got rules about that. So, but yeah, I think that's where they first encountered archery, but they really liked it. Kids must be 6. Okay, that makes sense. I thought it was 6, but I couldn't remember. Tornado's not like super duper big into fighting in that way. So hanging out with you while filming my newest episode. Yay! So everybody, Oz in the comments has a cooking show on YouTube. It's called Living Between Paychecks, and it is all about how to cook things while on a budget, and everything that he makes is delicious. And there is actually an episode on there where he makes a soup that my friend Sly invented and named after me. So Living Between Paychecks, Ellen soup, that's me. It's delicious. And you should definitely check that out. Atlantia. So Atlantia has an amazing A&S university, like classes, everything like that. And I think that's really awesome. And I would love to see more kingdoms doing stuff like that. Royal University of Mid-Realm had an excellent YouTube channel. Yes. So Henry Best, the guy who was involved in both of those things, is actually a very good friend of mine. And he and I have talked about teaching and pedagogy in the SCA a lot. And I have a lot of thoughts on that as well, which I will not go into right here, right now. But I love both of those things, like both of those like universities and online repositories of knowledge are super great. Yeah, Forge has a lot of cross-crafting purposes. It's true. But I'm not about to be kicked out of this wonderful new apartment by having a forge on my balcony. So are SCA events good for kids with autism? They can be. I have a lot of friends. There are a lot of autistic people in the SCA. I would actually say I probably have more neurodivergent friends than friends who are neurotypical. In fact, I think partner is my token neurotypical friend. Everybody else is not. So in some ways they can be really overwhelming, because there's often a lot of background noise, a lot of things happening, is hard to focus sometimes. But a lot of places are doing things like having quiet rooms now where it's just a room where you can go, you can recharge, all of those things. And if you have a good grasp of the kinds of accommodations that your kids need, usually there are people who are on site that will help you achieve those things. So if somebody needs a quiet room, that's fine. If somebody needs a dark room, or a place that, you know, they can sit and have a screen so that they can regulate that way, that's all fine. And those things are usually like available in some capacity on site. So as long as you know the kinds of things that are going to be needed to help your kids regulate, then yeah, I would say the SCA is not any better or worse than anything else, especially if special interests are things that can be done at an SCA event or within the SCA. Because like I said, there's a ton of autistic people in the SCA, like so many. I would probably the majority. Yeah, if chaos is upsetting, it can be too much. But again, like I said, there are ways to accommodate that. And that might be something that might be worth either bringing a little pop-up to set off to the side if they need some quiet time, or approaching the autocrat, the person running the event, and being like, hey, is there any way that we can set aside some space where it can be a quiet room for anybody? Or like, you know, we're going to set up some things over here where if people need to self-regulate by like movement, then we have some jumping ropes over here, whatever. Definitely worth like talking to people in order to get accommodations. Sometimes I wonder how he dates me as somebody who is absolutely not neurotypical. It took some work. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, join the Discord. It's a lot of fun. We have a great group of people over there, and it's all like very gentle, enabling. So we've done a lot of work to create a culture of acceptance and uplifting. So, oh, it's Avery. What? Okay, so Avery is like already on the server. This is what you get for not having your Discord name and your YouTube name be the same. Nerd. He lives quiet and chaos at the same time. Weirdly, the SCA can provide that, especially if there's like tournaments happening outside. You can be far enough away that it doesn't necessarily, like, it's not hugely loud, but there is a lot of things going on to watch and a lot of like things to keep track of. So if that's something, you know, tournaments might be a really good way for him to, you know, be involved in that. Texas Gulf Coast, where is the closest event? I'm going to get back with you, Oz, after this, because I'm not entirely sure what the next coastal event is. Ask Alden. He is going to know, but I don't know off the top of my head. I'll look it up and I'll talk to you. Oh, yeah. There you go. August 19th. That's where. Oh my goodness. All right, friends and croissants. It has been just about an hour. My throat is dry and I have run out of lavender sparkly water. So I am going to thank all of you for joining me today, letting me show off my new space. Tune back in 2 weeks for my next video, and that will be again the gold work embroidered purse, and I'll see you then. The link to the Discord should be in the description here. If it's not there when I sign off, I'll make sure that it's in there. Absolutely, as always, join us. The next phase of our Discord so-long will be starting on July 1st, and it will be leg coverings. So we've already done undergarments and torso coverings. So the next phase is going to be leg coverings. And that will run for the next season. That'll be our summer so-along. So in any case, Thank you all for joining me. And as always, be kind, do the work, continue supporting marginalized people, and keep creating. Well.